Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be revealing my current go-to climbing team for the Open Great League. This team is built around the powerful core of Tinkaton and Furret. Despite the fact that Tinkaton's a new meta Pokemon that completely walls Furret, I think Furret actually got better with Tinkaton's release, as so many Tinkaton teams pair Tinkaton with water, and Furret with Trailblaze is incredibly good at shutting down the water types. So the team features Tinkaton on the lead, Furret, the ever-flexible safe switch, and as the closer, Lapras. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. In game number 1, we're off to an amazing start, leading Tinkaton into Shadow Drapion. This is where I want to see Drapion on this team. If Drapion ends up on Lapras, it's not awful. The main thing I want to avoid is an even energy matchup against Furret. Furret, oftentimes on the save switch, will be answered with Shadow Drapion, but up energy, that's very okay for Furret, as Furret can oftentimes force an advantage. I do have a very high rank Tinkaton, which means I do have the Poison Sting bulk point, which means each Poison Sting does 1 fewer damage to Tinkaton than it would to a bad IV. Now this means that in very certain situations, I can win the 0-1 shield, even when they CMP tie here. I survive with a fraction of HP. I believe that's a true 1 hit point survive, and Tinkaton wins the 0-1s. Opponent gonna send in their own Furret. Furret destroys Lapras, so I'm going to be bringing in the mirror. I'm down energy, but I'm up a shield, so I'm still in a pretty okay spot. My opponent is going to go for the Trailblaze, and I may as well go for a Trailblaze of my own. So Trailblaze is going to connect, doing some pretty nice damage, and both of us now have boosted Sucker Punches. I will commit the shield because I believe I can commit to a farm down here. It is going to be very close. Their Furret able to hang on, so I decide to save the energy and snipe with the Lapras. In the back, it is a Azumarill, and this game is over. So right off the bat, we see a team that is triple weak to Tinkaton. The Drapion was more or less able to neutralize the Tinkaton, but it had to give up a shield to do so, and I was still able to win switch. The bluff of a Skull Bash is enough to grab a shield from the Azumarill, and considering that I have a Trailblaze loaded, and I still have a shield on the Lapras, this game is absolutely over. Lapras is going to burn the final shield. I will decide to go for the Ice Beam here. Ice Beam is less efficient, but does do slightly more damage. I just need to make sure that I can get this into range where Trailblaze will KO. So the Psywaves very easily put it in Trailblaze range, and then we get to do the nice combo. So Trailblaze KOs Azumarill, and we take the game 1 win. We move to the next match, and it's a very nice lead leading into Shadow Sableye. Opponent is going to save switch into Swalot. Bit of a slow counter swap here from me. I do 2 Fairy Winds and then switch, but Lapras has a very convincing matchup into this Swalot. And the nice thing for me is I am very ABA strong to the Sableye. So even if my opponent decides to make a play for switch, I'm never going to be shielding, because Sableye will not get a lot of value into Tinkaton, nor will it get a lot of value into the Furret. So with Lapras, I'm going to fire off this Sparkling Aria, and I'm going for Sparkling Aria number 2. Will my opponent decide to try and make a play for switch advantage here? The answer is yes. They shield up the Swalot. Swalot, I'm more than happy to concede switch advantage, and I'm actually going to go for an incredibly aggressive Fairy Wind farm down with Tinkaton. I know even if it's something that is an absolute nightmare for Tinkaton in the back, that Furret up a shield should just be able to sweep. So I will get the big farm down. In the back, it's Corviknight. I send in Furret. Now this may seem like I'm in trouble, but the thing I've learned from playing quite a lot of Furret recently, and from trying out Corviknight as well, is that Corviknight into Furret, the moment Furret goes for a Trailblaze, that matchup gets very uncomfortable. Here, I will actually go for an undercharged Trailblaze into the Sableye, because Sableye is going to get to 1 more foul play anyway. But if I undercharge, then I can exit with extra residual energy, and just apply so much pressure to this Corviknight. This is a full health Corviknight. My charge moves are entirely resisted, but they are +1 stage boosted, and so are the Sucker Punches. So now this is about to be an extremely sad Corviknight off of entirely resisted charge moves. Look at the Furret go. Furret absolutely bullying this poor Corviknight. Corviknight gonna be hit with another Swift. This Swift is gonna get them low. And now we get the combo play. Tinkaton getting revenge on one of its hardest counters in the Go Battle League. Down goes Corviknight, and that's a good game. We move to the next match, picking up a pretty bad lead Tinkaton into Claydol. This team is technically ABA weak to Claydol, as Lapras doesn't really want to see it either. Opponent is going to stay in to build up some energy, and now they're just going to send out the ever bulky Toxapex onto the Furret. Furret boosts itself up with Trailblaze. Opponent does not even build up to a Sludge Wave. So I really don't have to respect this whatsoever. I'm very okay letting that go. That's a pretty big error from my opponent. I know they were just trying to guarantee some damage landing, but I can overfarm here, play to the CMP tie, and now win switch advantage, or what I would prefer is to get a shield advantage. Opponent shields. People who run Toxapex will very frequently play for alignment, and that's actually very good, because now I'm going to get insane Tinkaton farm. Tinkaton is going to get a full Fairy Wind farm down, and even though Mud Slap hits for super effective damage, it's not like Tinkaton can't return fire against Claydol. So I'm going to get some very nice value into the Claydol. They're going to send it back in, I get to fire off the Play Rough, and this will hit for quite a lot of damage. I have enough HP to where I can genuinely just stay in here. I am going to be shielding up as I want to preserve a little bit of health. They're actually on Scorching Sands. I'm seeing a few more Scorching Sands Claydol with the addition of Tinkaton to the meta. Personally, I'm still sticking with Rock Tomb plus Ice Beam. The coverage is just so good. In the back is a Shadow Drapion, and this game is over because Lapras just wins the one shield versus Shadow Drapion. Drapion will not get the debuff, and here I will go for the slightly harder hitting Ice Beam. I know that I can get 2 Ice Beams regardless in this matchup, so I may as well go for the harder hitting move. The Psywaves do add up a lot on Shadow Drapion. Shadow Drapion is kind of getting farmed here. I get to Ice Beam number 2. This is the 4th charge move that's thrown, so there's no ability for them to catch, and we can farm down the Claydol, overcome the bad lead, and take the win. We move to the next match, and we see the best possible lead, Tinkaton into Guzzlord. Opponent safe switches into Lapras, and we're off to the races as Furret gets to hit the field. Furret, in the zeros, does have to go down a shield here, but I will get to exit this matchup boosted and with quite a lot of energy. So I am going to be firing off the Trailblaze at the Lapras. Lapras is going to no shield, and now this is going to set up an incredibly aggressive farm down for the Furret. Furret is going to need to shield once, but as long as you're fast with your switch in here as the Furret, Furret is going to get the Sucker Punch farm down, and +1 Swifts are going to do a lot of damage to Guzzlord. So I get to fire off Swift to number 1. Guzzlord is going to no shield. They know there's a Fairy type awaiting the Guzzlord, so committing to Guzzlord health is just not a winning strategy. So the Guzzlord has basically been fully KO'd by the Furret. I send in the Lapras, knowing they were going to be switching out instantly. And in the back, they're going to have Blastoise. Blastoise, a little bit scary, but Lapras is very bulky. I can survive a Skull Bash, and I still have Tinkaton. Blastoise will go straight for the Skull Bash right off the bat. I am going to be committing the shield, knowing that even though my charge moves are walled, the damage does add up over time, and the Psywaves are chipping through this Blastoise as well. Sparkling Aria is going to be no-shielded by my opponent. There's another Sparkling Aria, and we're ramping up the pressure on this Blastoise more and more. Throw a couple Psywaves, switch into the Tinkaton. Tell me that's the Skull Bash catch. Yes, it is. We catch the Skull Bash. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Greatly in the next match, Tinkaton into Superior, opponent safe switching into Shadow Drapion. I am noticing there's a massive amount of teams that are ABA weak to Tinkaton right now. People are just not really respecting it, and that's something that if you have a Tinkaton, you can definitely punish. Here, I tank an Aqua Tail, land a Bulldoze to get some nice chip. I get a debuff, but the debuff isn't impactful in this game, and now I can send out Furret. Furret more than happy to absorb a crunch. I'll look to farm up. I need to fire off the Swift before they're able to make their next move, so Swift is going to pick up the KO. Back in comes Superior, but the important thing here is that I still kept a lot of health available on the Tinkaton, because this Superior is going to have energy, and I need to make sure the Tinkaton is not in a range where Frenzy Plant will KO. Opponent does not want to take another Swift, so they will go for the Aerial Ace, and now I can bring back in the Tinkaton. Superior staying in does worry me just a little bit, because that could mean that they're just triple weak to Tinkaton, and if it's something like a Morpeko in the back, then my Lapras is not really going to have anywhere to run. I full send the player off. There's going to be a shield from the opponent. And now I am very, very worried. Opponent will fire off energy. They are going to full send the Frenzy Plant as a resisted Air Release wouldn't quite pick up the knockout. I will fire off the player off once more at the Superior. They let it go. In the back is Morpeko, and I have one win con in this game, and that is them shielding a Bulldoze. If they shield a Bulldoze, I'm fine. They shield the Bulldoze. We actually get the defense drop, but just based on the few Fairy Winds that we got, we should still be good here. I just have to shield the Electric Aura Wheel because a +1 Dark Aura Wheel will not be enough to knock out. They are going to be firing off that Dark Aura Wheel, but that's not an issue. We can survive it, get to the Ice Beam, and even though it was kind of the worst case scenario Pokemon, we are able to take the win. We move to the next match, we see the Dream lead, but this match is a cautionary tale. They save switch Weezing, but I'm too slow on the counter swap. If I throw one Fairy Wind and switch, Lapras can keep switching the 2s. But if I throw 2, then Weezing can actually win the 2s. So I have 2 options here of how I better could have played this. The first of which is stay in and bulldoze. If I bulldoze, then I can guarantee switch in the mid game, or I need to switch faster. Because now, I know that I lose 2, so I'm forced to play for any kind of an advantage that I can get. In comes the Tinkaton into the Shadow Weezing, but losing switch against the Pangoro with this particular line means that I'm already in a losing position in this game. So a pretty rough misplay from me, but I think it's an important educational moment just to show how an extremely winning position can turn into a losing one if you're imprecise in your gameplay. Bulldoze will pick up the KO. It's Talonflame in the back, and with switch I would have been very fine. Furret does okay here, but unfortunately losing switch, there's now just no out for me to win this game. Talonflame is going to be firing off its energy here. They're going to full set up Brave Bird, trying to punish a No Shield, but in comes Pangoro, and my Sucker Punches are so heavily resisted. One of the awesome things about Furret is his ability to throw moves and farm down, but I can't do that when my Sucker Punches are so heavily resisted. So this is a very winnable game for me, but unfortunately, misplays, well, honestly, just one big misplay there. I should have either stayed in or I could have just switched after 1, but doing the in-between play just completely loses me the game on the spot, as I even get the catch, but Pangoro is just able to farm down. We move to the next match, picking up a pretty nice lead Tinkaton into Shadow Jumpluff. Now this matchup, pretty nice as the Tinkaton. If the Jumpluff ends up investing shields heavily, the matchup can get a lot closer, but in the zeros, it's very comfortable for Tinkaton. You very comfortably absorb 2 Shadow Acrobatics and can even overfarm to exit the matchup with some energy. They will outpace here barely as they are 7-6, whereas Play Rough on the first 2 moves is 7-7. So Acrobatics is going to end up landing, but I get to overfarm and fire off this Play Rough. Play Rough is going to pick up the knockout, down goes Jumpluff. Out comes Blastoise, I pivot out into Furret, and at this point, I'm worried this is actually a team that I featured recently. If it's that team, it's Morpeko in the back, and that's not what you're hoping to see as Lapras. I'm firing off the Trailblaze at the Shadow Blastoise. Blastoise is gonna no shield, they get rocked, out comes Morpeko, and this is going to be scary. Morpeko, I have to shield here. I have to start getting shields away from this Pokemon, and the 2s is just gonna run away with this game. So I shield up a Psychic Fangs, which doesn't feel great, but I get to fire off a Boosted Swift. That forces a shield. Bulldoze is going to apply a lot of pressure here too. They can survive it, but they'll lose a lot of HP. They're going to end up shielding that. No Bulldoze debuff comes through, but the important thing is they're in Hangry form. This means their Aura Wheel is going to be dark, and that's only going to hit for neutral. Aura Wheel is an amazing move, but I can survive a neutral Aura Wheel. That isn't going to be a big problem. I can make it to the Sparkling Aria, but they catch. No! And I may have just thrown this game. Oh, that is so unfortunate. I let them catch on the Blastoise. In comes Morpeko, but I get the Sparkling Aria, and we're going to be able to take the game. The opponent was in a bit of a tricky spot there. They tried to maximize overfarm, but they end up playing to the CMP tie. Bit of a messy endgame for me letting that catch happen, but thankfully we're able to fight back. Disastrous lead leading into Typhlosion, the save switch into Furret. Opponent throws a Thunder Punch, but I'm very okay letting this go. Thunder Punch is gonna land. Out comes a Chestnut. What is this team that is on my screen right now? Oh my goodness. This team, I believe, has been featured by Jamie Finn before, but I was not expecting to see it here. Chestnut, Frenzy Plant is gonna pick up the knockout. If it's the Jamie team, it's a Shadow Drapion in the back, and that would be a bit of a problem. Chestnut has farmed up a ton of energy. They're going to be going for the back-to-back superpowers. I will shield the first, as obviously the first is going to do the most. My plan is this. I'm going to save all this energy and then switch into the Lapras and snipe down with Psywaves. In the back, it's Azumarill, and this is suddenly a very winnable game. It's not the Drapion I was fearing. It's an Azumarill, and this feels okay. I'm going to have to let the first go, and then just start chipping away at this Azumarill slowly and slowly. I need to always make sure that I have residual energy on the Lapras, so that way there's never a free switch into the Typhlosion, because I should be able to get to 2 moves on the Tinkaton. I think I have 2 moves stored, so I think I'm just in a winning spot now, which is a really great spot to be in. They're going to fire off the Play Rough. I will use the Final Shield here. I don't think I can Aria and farm down, so I will go for the slightly harder hitting Ice Beam. Ice Beam onto the Lapras is going to land. Azumarill gets farmed down, and we win the game because I'll get to double Sparkling Aria, and I have a Bulldoze loaded, so I'm good here. I get to fire off this Sparkling Aria. They're going to shield. I go for the Sparkling Aria, but I am addicted to timing, and it costs me the game. I just needed to throw it as soon as I get it, but I'm so used to autopilot doing 4 Psy Waves in the move. I didn't think that Incinerate would knock me out. It does, and we should have won that game, but unfortunately, that's just a complete throw by me. Hopping into the final match, and now we're leading Tinkaton into Jumpluff. This is the non-Shadow Jumpluff, which means it's obviously going to absorb hits better, but it's not going to hit as hard in return. So this Jumpluff is farming up quite a bit. I'm very okay letting this go. This Jumpluff, oh, it's actually a non-Shadow on Acrobatics. They are going to try and go for a CMP tie, but I'm very okay absorbing this damage. Acrobatics is going to land, and now I get to return fire with the Play Rough. Ideally, I will want to pivot out of this matchup at some point, just to try and get some Sucker Punches in. Out comes a Shadow Drapion, and that's a very nice Pokemon to bait out. Furret Up Energy going to do great here. The Sucker Punches that I landed on the Jumpluff get it closer and closer to potentially getting farmed down later in the game. Crunch comes out from the Drapion. That's big damage. We do not see a defense drop, and due to this energy advantage, I get to outpace, make it to a Swift, and a Swift is going to force a shield from the opponent. Shadow Drapion, they're now at like 20% HP. Furret put in so much work in this game. Aqua Tail will pick up the KO. I'm just sending in Lapras. They pivot out. It's another backline Morpeko. Morpeko will take a lot of damage from a Sparkling Aria though, so I will just go straight for the Sparkling Aria. They're going to shield, and now I can send in Tinkaton. I'm going to have to double shield Psychic Fangs here, but Tinkaton will guarantee get to a Play Rough, and they're not going to be able to catch it. They're going to CMP tie here, forcing the final shield, but the important thing for me is I still have a full health Lapras, and that should hopefully do quite well for me in this endgame. Play Rough is going to connect. Down goes Morpeko. Back in comes the Drapion. Drapion unable to get the farm down. Tinkaton's just too bulky. Aqua Tail is going to land. In comes the Lapras. They will get to fire off a Crunch. The Jumpluff's going to need an Acrobatics to win this game. Aerial Ace will not cut it, and with the Sucker Punches we got earlier, we get the Psy Wave down, and we're able to take the win. All in all, I had very nice results with this team. I definitely feel there were some games that I could have played better, but I feel like the Tinkaton plus Furret combination is a really, really strong pairing. You can run a wide variety of different third Pokemon. I believe Z's Wireless hit rank 1 in the world with a spicier third, which was actually Paldean Tauros, and I think I saw its Axon use Claydol. I do think as a third, having a resist to fire is quite nice, just because otherwise, something like a Talonflame could be a little bit uncomfortable, but if you're looking for a climbing team during this week, if you're not playing a Remix, then I think this is a very solid option, although the Furret Tinkaton core should be very good in Remix as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.